altars, places of sacrifice, where dark deeds are done in dark times. Like leaving out milk and cookies for a guy in a red suit who leaves you gifts, or, I don't know, maybe the tree itself? Yeah, it's time to talk about our Yule and Christmas altars, because we are Christopagans and we do both. We're also doing Alban Arthan, and we're going to talk a little bit about that, because we have something special on our altar, specifically because of what we're doing this year. Let's talk about altars. You know how I love this. Altars and offerings for Yule, Christmas, and Alban Arthan, as we walk together down creation's paths. Hello everyone, my name is Charlie. I am a Christopagan Druid and Priest of Bridget.
Hello everyone, my name is Brian. I am a Christopagan Druid and sous chef to the Dagda.
Today we're going to be talking about altars, offerings. We're going to be talking a little bit about the three main holidays that are happening around this time. We are not going to be talking about Hanukkah because we are not practicing Jews, and I feel that they should be given space to talk about that holiday themselves. But we do practice a version of Yule, a version of Alban Arthan, and Christmas. So yeah, we're going to be talking about all that. But before we do, if you haven't already, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, follow, whatever the terminology happens to be on the app that you're listening to us on. We do original Christopagan and Druid episodes 5 times a week, Monday through Friday on this podcast. You don't want to miss a thing because we got a lot of stuff coming up. Let's start with the most sacrificial of all sacrificial rites, the cookies and milk. Look, I am one who believes that if we're going to get anywhere with our magical practice, we have to learn to re-enchant every aspect of our lives. We've talked about this on episodes before. You can find in the archive, and I've written about this some over at creationspast.com and over at wisdomscry.com. Re-enchantment is simply learning to see the mundane magic that we're doing every day, because there's a lot of mundane magic that we do every day. I have noticed that I always stir my morning coffee clockwise. I always stir my evening beverages counterclockwise. I didn't know I was doing that until I noticed that I was doing that. It was a couple years ago I noticed that because I'm invoking in the energy into my coffee, and I'm expelling the energy so I can go to sleep at the end of the day. I'm releasing it. I did not realize that I was naturally doing that, but I was. There are a lot of mundane activities that we do, or activities that we don't think of as magical that are. The cookies and milk are a magical practice, and they can have a myriad of meanings. They could be a sacrifice, an offering to the Santa spirit, which we did an entire episode on, Santa as a magical practice. And if you haven't listened to that, I can tell from our numbers, a lot of you didn't. Trust me, it's not as silly as you think it is. Something we should actually do. Maybe that's why you're doing it. Maybe you're doing it to help your children understand belief, or maybe you're doing it just because it's a tradition that you've always grown up with. To me, I see that as maybe a way to give gifts to your house spirits, maybe an offering to that collective spirit of Santa that we have all created, that is the holly jolly bringer of good cheer and community. Again, see our Ho Ho Hocus Pocus episode for more on that. But it is a valid ritual, and by the way, ritualizing it and doing it as a magical practice, I think is so much more helpful for children, because the way my family did it, at a certain point, kind of felt like a betrayal of trust. And I think a lot of people do it in a way that eventually feels like a betrayal of trust. And if we're raising our kids and to understand the innate magic in all things, whether it's the psychological magic of we are putting this out to remember the less fortunate and all of those that we love and care for and want to bring good cheer to, or we're doing it for the actual subtle magical powers of invoking a spirit that we have collectively created and manifest every year of joy, love, and gift giving. That is an honest way to talk about it with your kids, and a way that doesn't ever really have to stop. It also is a good way to help them start understanding how magic and offerings work. One of the other great offerings this time of year that I know you were very excited to talk about, and is an altar, no matter what anybody thinks about it, is the Christmas tree.
If we go back to what an altar is, it is a space set aside with various symbols, ritual implements to evoke the energies that we want in that sacred space. And when you think about the Christmas tree, There is a special place for it somewhere in the house or in the main living area or whatever, where it goes every time, where it feels right going, and it needs to be there and has to be set up in a certain way. And when you start thinking about what you put on your Christmas tree, how it is lit and then decorated all, oftentimes it is various things to actually evoke the various energies of the season.
It is probably the most common ancestor altar in our country.
Yes.
Because if you go to a friend's house who has a Christmas tree up and ask about the ornaments, you will often hear stories of, this was my grandmother's, this was my mother's, this was my grandfather's, this was this other grandmother's, my great aunt gave me this. That, like, not always, but a lot of Christmas trees do function kind of as an ancestral altar, in that we are putting reminders of our ancestors, things that they gave us. I know a lot of our Christmas ornaments were made by our grandmothers and grandfathers and great aunts and parents sometimes. And they are a big part of putting it together. And every time we put it out, we'll often tell a story about that person who made the thing, or I remember when they gave me this, or ... It is a highly ritualized act that a lot of people go through every year that is giving honor to their ancestors. And even if you are not doing that, is it an altar to light? Is it an altar to the whatever the Christmas spirit is? Because that's something we'll probably do an episode on next year, because we kind of got this year's calendar booked up. But I think we kind of need to talk about this new ubiquitous Christmas spirit that isn't quite Jesus and isn't quite Santa, that has also started to be created through this act of collective will, through our entertainment and storytelling, right? Maybe that's what you're invoking. Maybe you're invoking something very specific and are very intentional about it. And if so, I would love to hear about it in the comments. But Christmas trees are very definitely an altar of some sort.
Not only that, but we especially prepare offerings that we take to the Christmas tree altar, and we place it beneath it to be left until the ritualistic time of presenting those offerings to the recipients.
Yeah. Because remember, a lot of offerings are shared. Now, there are traditions, like if you give something to the Fae, do not eat it.
No.
They will take everything good out of it, and you will get sick. You will get violently ill if you partake of that afterwards. Don't do it. Don't do it. Dispose of it properly. In fact, most traditional offerings, if you were in Rome, for example, offer meat to the gods, and then you would take that meat and burn it into it. Some of it, the fat, would literally be thrown into the fire as the portion for the gods, and then the family would eat the meat. The sacrifices that happened in Jerusalem, they would take the animals in, parts of it would be taken and burnt on the altar for an offering to God. Parts would be taken as a tithe to the priests for them to eat, and the rest would be given to the family to be taken home, to be consumed as part of their festival. Some offerings are meant to be shared in this way. And Christmas presents really fit that model of they're literally offered to the tree, whether, again, unconscious magic is nowhere near as powerful as conscious magic, but unconscious magic is still a thing. They are gifts that are offered to the tree and then ritualistically opened and shared amongst the people who are to receive them. It's a magical thing. It is a powerful thing. It's one of the reasons why people will fight over the Christmas tree. Because I have not heard many people defend whether or not there should be a creche in a public square, but so help you God if you try to take the Christmas tree down. So many people look forward to watching some of the more famous Christmas trees get lit every year, which is a national ritual where we're invoking Christmas spirit. We might need to have some thoughts about that one going forward. It's all a matter of magic. It's all such a powerful and amazing thing that we are doing. So many of us are not even conscious of it. This is, to me, one of the big things that I want to bring more people's attention to. Because we could talk about some of the more common offerings like oranges. Oranges appear because this is the time of year that they are harvested. They are one of the few fresh fruits that we can get in the winter time. And they also have the wonderful ability of looking like the sun.
And the smell.
And the smell.
This is amazing.
There's nothing quite as good as the smell of fresh, ripe orange. Just melting here just thinking about it.
And even the peels, because you can leave the peels out as a papery.
Yeah.
You know.
And I wanted to just mention that. And there's a lot of reasons that cinnamon would be used in this time of year. Cinnamon very much used in prosperity magic and what have you. But you can go anywhere, TikTok, YouTube, just search the internet. You could probably ask ChatGPT, what are some offerings for your Yule altar? And they will list a lot of the common ones, because there are a lot of common ones. Again, part of my project in helping people really re-enchant their lives and reconnect to their natural magic is to help you understand that correspondences aren't real. There's things that people have discovered over time and can be helpful, but not all correspondences work the same way for every person. And a lot of the craft, a lot of the work is learning your correspondences. Two of our favorite potions to make this time of year, and they are potions and they are offerings. They are full ritual endeavors when we do them, is have we perfected the hot chocolate and the eggnog. These are two ritual beverages that are very much an offering to the season.
Mulled beverage.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Mulled beverage is actually the top one. It doesn't necessarily have to be a libation. Depends on mood, really, because sometimes we'll mull a cider. Sometimes we'll mull a wine.
They really are a magical thing. They are the most traditional way to do it. I feel like most people don't need to hear this, but if you're new to the craft, a cauldron is an altar. A cauldron is an altar. A cauldron is an altar. Even if that cauldron is your crock pot, because I'm not somebody who's afraid of embracing technology, and our most commonly used cauldrons are crock pots. If we need to keep something at a certain temperature, we need to keep it boiling. They're a great way to do that.
8 hours, 16 hours. That's a crock pot.
That's a crock pot. Especially because we live in a house without a hearth. We don't have the ability to have a fireplace going. I'm sure we would be experimenting with how we could use the smoke from the fire to enchant these things even further if we had a fireplace. But where we're currently living, we don't have a fireplace. And I don't think one is required. We often, and this is very prevalent this time of year with just everything Christmas related, fall into this trap of spiritual materialism where we feel like we have to have certain items or it doesn't count. That's why we are really focusing on these mundane things. Most people have a Christmas tree. Our first Christmas tree that we put up this year is a little ceramic Christmas tree with plastic lights in it that has an LED light in the base that shines up through the plastic balls. It runs on batteries. It was the first Christmas tree we put up this year, and it's one that meant so much to me because it reminds me of the ceramic Christmas tree my grandmother used to have, and it brings me so much joy every time I look at it that it's hard to express how much joy and love that it brings to me. And it is an offering. Every time I flip the switch and turn it on, I get joy. I find myself saying a little prayer. It is an offering and it is an altar. We need to have more of those things in our lives because, yeah, we could set up a table and ritualistically lay out all of the things on it. And we do that often for various things. But there's a certain materialism in that, oh, what if I can't find this or that or the other thing? I'm a practicing druid. Shouldn't I have actual mistletoe up? No, I have animals in the house. And if I ever put up mistletoe, it would be plastic. It would be artificial because I do not want to risk a berry touching the ground and killing a cat or a dog, right? So I'm probably, as long as I have indoor animals and do not have a safe, locked away from other animals where even wildlife couldn't get into it, altar space, I probably would not use real mistletoe on an altar, right? But that's how I see the holiday. You need to find your way. What correspondences matter to you? The smell of evergreens, they kind of make me feel Christmassy, but you know what the great Christmas offering is? Anything vanilla. If I want to do an offering for anything in the Yule Christmas time period, I will light a vanilla candle because to me, vanilla is the smell of hearth and home. Because when I was growing up, everything that was being made for a family gathering, there was a vanilla something, whether it was in the cookies, the cakes, something else. If somebody was making chocolates, because there's vanilla in chocolate if you're doing it right. And that smell of vanilla filling the house, that's home. That's coziness to me. And that is something near and dear to my heart. It connects me to my family, to my ancestors, to my roots. It connects me to the season. You may not have that correspondence. Your correspondence may be something very different. That's where these practices are very helpful to start asking yourself, what do you connect with the holiday? If you don't have a connection to oranges, I grew up, oranges were so special because we only got them at Christmas. The only time I ever had oranges as a kid is there would be one or more oranges in my stocking at Christmas. And that was the only orange I ever had. Like all year, that was the only time I had oranges. And so oranges are so connected to the season for me, not just because of some correspondence that somebody told me about the sun and ... but because of its connection to this time and space. Because magic fuels off of connections. What connects you?
While you're setting up your decorations and stuff this time of year, for instance, those that haven't gotten around to setting up their prosperity altar, they keep telling themselves they want to do that, but they're really busy, but you're going to put up a Christmas tree. This might be a great opportunity to not only put up the Christmas tree, but to have it be your prosperity altar, at least through the Christmas season, because it is, for many, a symbol of prosperity, of charity,
Of abundance.
And it is kindled. They're lit.
I know for me, whether I want to or not, I kind of feel like I know how well we're doing financially by how much is under the tree, because I can kind of, like, how many people have dropped stuff off to put under the tree? How much stuff have we bought to put under the tree? Like, I can literally see the prosperity of us and our friends by just looking at the tree. And so that connection is there, whether we are conscious of it or not. It does make it a very good way to do an inroad into that.
And if it is a tough year, just take some empty boxes, wrap them, put them under the tree, because just seeing the extra boxes under there will set your energies right for a prosperity altar that you're wanting in that first place, because you'll see the abundance and it'll align you in that mindset of prosperity, and you will then be putting out prosperity, you'll be bringing it into your life.
I remember when I was a kid, money was really, really tight. And now my parents were very open with me that Christmas was going to be like a game show this year. Some of the presents have prizes in them, and some of the presents don't. But because you love opening the wrapping, like part of the gift was getting to make a mess, because I wasn't allowed to make a mess when I was a kid. And I still kind of keep some of that in myself now, but I love like ripping the paper off and like opening the box. Like I often wouldn't even look to see what was in the box. Like that's the kind of kid that I was. And my parents knew that about me. So times were tough. There wasn't a lot of money for a lot of stuff under the tree. So they made it into a game. Some of the presents have prizes in them. See, the present was getting to open the box. Some of the boxes had prizes. And so the context was there, so I was never disappointed when I opened an empty box, right? I had the setup already there, but it was such a joyous morning, because even though I only got, I think that was the year I got like 2 Go Bots, I think, for Christmas, which that's where the cheapest one of the cheapest toy options on the market back when I was a kid. And they weren't even Go Bots that I wanted, but I was so excited to find them because I found the prize. Do you see what I'm saying? It changed the connotation, because, I wanted the big Voltron castle and I wanted this and I wanted that, but all of that kind of got swept away because I was playing this game under the tree.
And a lot of it is framework and right relationship, because once again, they were living in right relationship with you and what excited you. Because some of us are cats. Some of us only care about the box. We don't care about the toy that was in it. We're going to curl up in the box and be happy. All we needed was one big empty box.
And they actually did that for me. My dad was able to get, I think one of my aunts got a new washer or dryer, and he got me the box. And so one of the presents was huge, and it became a cardboard fort, because I'm of that generation. I don't know if kids still do this anymore, but I was of that generation where, I have a big cardboard box. I'm going to cut a window into it. I'm going to take some of the extra cardboard. I'm going to make a turret up here, and I'm going to turn this cardboard box into a castle. And that, of all the things I got that year, that was probably my favorite toy, because yes, I am a cat. I'm very much a cat. That is a way to do an offering. That was an offering not only to the season, but to the family, because our offerings should not just be to spirits. Ocean Keltoy has a lot of great videos on YouTube about Frith and the gifting cycle, and understanding that, like, we're not trying to propitiate an angry god, and we're not trying to bribe a deity into doing stuff for us. It's a trust cycle of, look, without thought of return, I am going to give to you, and then starting to build this trust through gifting. Wonderful series. I highly recommend them if this is a concept that is new to you. If you want us to do an episode on gifting cycles, we can do that. But Gifting cycles are one of the great ways that we develop trust in each other as people. That's how we develop trust with the spirits as well. If you're not thinking in your mind that gift giving is a magical practice, you need to re-enchant your life, because all gift giving is a magical act, because you are fostering and cultivating frith. You are cultivating this trust of, I am here to give and be a part of your life because you are here. And it may be monetary. You may be buying something for somebody else. It may be a gift of time that you crafted. Like, one of my favorite gifts that I've gotten in the last couple of years is a friend of mine who knows that the sorceress from He-Man is like my favorite thing ever. Got her sister, and then she herself, they both made me 2 different shawls that are big, beautiful red bird wings that I can wear. And one is really heavy and thick and really nice and cozy on really cold days. And one is thinner so that on just kind of chilly days, I can wear it. But all the time and energy and effort that went into making these means so much. I think we've forgotten that in our materialistic world of, usually we think of a handmade gift as, oh, I ran out of time, so I would quickly draw something on a piece of paper, because that's the sitcom trope, right? Oh, I forgot about our anniversary, so here, I want to make a coupon for 1 free back rub, right? And yeah, you can tell there's not a lot of thought maybe that went into that. But a lot of us are very crafty. And by the way, that's all a magical act. The offering of time in the making of the thing, all of the energy and care that goes into making the thing, and then the giving of it. This is all offerings that we do in this time of year, that if you're not thinking about those in magical terms, again, they're unintentional magic that you could turn into intentional magic.
Another offering to be mindful of ties into that saying, one man's junk is another man's treasure. So you have to be careful that you're not falling into the trope of regifting, because it's not about just taking something that is of trash value to you, that you do not respect or put value in, and you're just passing your trash off to someone else. That is not an appropriate offering. That's bad relationship. But if it is something that you know through a relationship with the other party, they will treasure, and that treasure is hiding in amongst your piles of stuff, that is an acceptable and appropriate offering.
Yeah.
And sometimes it can even be something very transient. A beautiful example of this, not too long ago, I was at work and somebody had found a lost little toy banana. I found it very amusing because I watched the little spirits have it be found by a coworker who fumbled around with it for a short while and then suddenly had the urge to give it to me. And I realized by observing this whole process that I was a caretaker and a limited time holder of this, but there was a mother and child that was the right moment and pass it on to, and is probably still getting lots of joy out of this. Because sometimes those offerings are simply that. It's just something that you end up stumbling upon for a short while.
We can't end the episode without talking about the most unappreciated altar of the season, and that's the buffet, the Christmas meal. Whether you eat it buffet style, family style, whether everybody just funnels through the kitchen, and however you do it, that meal table is an altar. A lot of magic and culinary care when it's the preparation of everything in there, whether it's ancestor work, because you got to make grandma's cake just the way grandma did it, or grandma's cookies just the way grandma made it, right? That's ancestor work, because especially if you do it right, because you can invoke the spirit of that ancestor to help you with all that and to bring them into the experience with you. That is knitting, whether it's your blood family, your found family, or both together. Some of my favorite Christmases that I can remember were those few before the dark times, before the Empire. Oh, I'm sorry. When both my blood family and cousins and everybody would come together, and my local found family, for a lot of them moved away, we would all come together, fill up the entire restaurant, which it was closed because it was Christmas, and we all sat around talking and sharing, and so many of us brought our favorite this, that, and the other thing. It was up on the buffet for people to go through and get what they wanted. I know it's buffet. I know, I'm just saying it funny. I know somebody's already written a comment. But that is an altar. That is a sacred space. And those are all offerings, whether they are offerings to or from our ancestors or to or from those who are there. That is all magic. And if we aren't looking at those feasts and meals as magic. One, I'm hoping you don't call yourself a pagan, because most pagan celebrations were feasts. When you look historically, yeah, you had the bloats where they would go and sacrifice an animal. You know what happened to the animal after they sacrificed it? Feast. Because it's not just about the shedding of blood. That's half of the ritual.
They had the feast of the Christmas roast beast.
And if you're not thinking in those terms, and I think nowadays more important than ever to think in those terms, because one, if our Christmas meal is a ritual space, you need to be very clear and conscious about who is invited into your ritual space. Holidays should not have obligations as a part of them, because some people can only learn through hard example. And I know it seems harsh, all the people that have been very clear that they have been disinvited from family meals and stuff this year and previous years and perpetually probably going forward. Sometimes that kind of tough love kind of can need to happen. We did an entire episode on the ethics of hexing, if you want to, because that is a hex. If you're not welcome at our table, that is a hex. But also making sure that your intentions are good going into it, because so many of us get so tied up in the, I know I'm going to date myself with this reference, but I'm going to do it anyway, the Martha Stewart of it all. That, oh, the centerpieces have to be perfect and the tablecloth has to be just right and all the plates have to be matching, but also a kick right for the season, and all the food has to be perfect and ... If that's all that matters, that is a wasted holiday. Because if you're not getting together with people that you want to talk to, that you want to be around, if you're just there out of obligation to eat a meal and quickly leave, you haven't had your Christmas dinner yet. I'm just saying, you really haven't. That is not a celebration of the holiday.
Not only that, but this is, for those that have gone through that, if you look back and honestly think, even if you stuffed yourself, you're still hungry later on because you didn't get the nourishment you actually needed. Your soul has gone hungry. Your spirit's gone hungry. You may have filled your stomach and you may be digesting and processing that biologically speaking, but
I said we were going to talk about something special we were going to put on our altar for Alban Arthan, and that is our Grail cup. As you know, we've talked about this before. I am doing a whole Grail quest for Advent this year, and I may try to turn that into like some kind of an interior castle thing for the Grail castle come the 12 days of Christmas. I started thinking about that. I haven't shared a lot of this publicly because, well, I've done the stuff like this before. It's different every time, and maybe I'll try to write it up and share it for next year. But if you're not familiar with Grail practice, it's really simple. You call up the telluric spirit energies of the earth from below, the solar energies from the heavens above, and where they meet in your heart. And you transmute them into the lunar energies of the world. And these three energies come to meet in you. And you can start seeing that as the earth, sea, and sky. There's a lot of different ways to think about this, but you have created a chalice because you have the cone of the energy coming up, you have the cone of the energy coming down, and you have this swirling center where the energy is mixing and then doing with that energy as you need. I've been using that energy to try to do healing for myself and others, which I see as very much a part both of the Grail myth and of the season. It's a very simple ritual to do. You can embellish it as much as you can want. But I also tend to believe that if there was a real Holy Grail, because I do believe there probably was a Passover cup, then it's in Spain, and it's a red carnelian cup. Because I just find it so odd that a first century, from Jerusalem, cup that would have been used as a first century Passover meal found its way to Spain with a story that says that St. Lawrence got it from St. Peter, who took it off of the table. It's been there for thousands of years. It all lines up pretty well for me. Again, matter of faith, can't prove it. You can't, it's all story. But I believe that that's the real cup. So we got a carnelian cup, which isn't a replica because you know what? You can't get a replica because all stones are different. But it's the same kind of stone that cup is made out of. And we have that on our altar. Because to me, this is the time of the Grail. And have I drunk from it yet? No, I'm not going to drink from it till Christmas. Christmas Day, I'm going to put water in it. I'm going to do my Grail ritual. I'm going to enchant that water, and I'm going to drink it. That's how I'm celebrating Alban Arthan, which for me this year is not the time of the bear, but the time of Arthur. And I'm going on my Grail quest. And we're going to talk about that more, I think, tomorrow. That's something that means a lot to me and is meaningful to the magic that I am doing in this season. Yeah, I had to buy a cup. Can you do the Grail quest without the cup? Yes, I did it for years. In fact, over the years, I have used various clay and glass and other vessels for the cup. But if we're being honest, it would have been made out of stone because that was Jewish law in the first century. And since I tend to believe that the pedigree and story for this one cup is probably most accurate, I want to get a cup like it. And mine's rough. I thought mine was small, and then I actually found measurements for the actual one. Because it's hard to tell the size of the actual one because it's been mounted in a chalice. Like it's had a golden chalice built around it, but it's just the little red cup at the top. And actually, there are cups about the same size.
Laughing because my brain went, yes, imprisoned by the imperial trappings.
Right?
How symbolic is that?
Oh, so much. And then it's kept in a gold cage.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, away from the masses.
Yeah.
Because the Grail legend had nothing to do with, I'm getting ahead of the story. We'll get to that tomorrow and later on.
Whatever magic that you're doing, be sure to incorporate that into. I hope that this has meant something to you. What offerings do you do this time of year? What altars do you set up? Have you ever thought about your Christmas tree, your dinner table, any of the things that we've talked about in this episode as an altar and an offering? Let us know. If you're listening to us on Spotify or YouTube, you can leave a comment right there and we'll be able to see it. If you're listening to us anywhere else, they won't tell us that you did. You can still leave a comment there because engagement is magic, but then head over to creationspaths.com, click on chat, and you can leave a comment there that we will be able to see. While you're there, if you happen to have a few dollars you can pass our way, you can think about joining a membership. That really does help us to keep a roof over our head, lights on, and food on our table. You can also support us on Patreon and Ko-fi. I am CE Dorset on both. And if you don't have any money, don't worry about it. We really are doing this to try to get the message out. If you know anybody that you think would like anything that we're doing, share it with them. That is a wonderful gift that you could give to us. And hopefully to them, because hopefully what we're doing is good. Alrighty. And as we're heading out, O Christmas star that guided the wise men to find the baby Jesus in his infancy, who led the people to the child of light so that goodness and hope could be restored to the world. Guide us that we may find our way to the child of light, that we may save him from the forces of darkness, seeking to overcome and help to bring life, light, and hope back into the world this season. Amen.
Amen. Oh, Christmas tree, we didn't know you were an altar for thee.